Hello friends, today again I'm before you with the model answer of yesterday's question. If you remember yesterday we gave a question from Indian philosophy. So let us see what is the question and what can be the model answer for that. The question was, what are the main epistemological and metaphysical tenets of Charvak school? So basically we have to explain after little introduction the epistemological and metaphysical tenets of Charvak school, and then we have to critically evaluate to what extent those tenets are viable or correct or supported by various other schools or criticized by various other schools, and what then finally will give the conclusion. So now let us start the answer. The Charvak or Lokayat school represents materialist, rationalist, and empiricist tradition in Indian philosophy. As a Gnostic or heterodox school, because there are two categories of schools, heterodox and orthodox. Orthodox who believe the authority of Vedas, and heterodox who do not believe authority of Vedas. For example, Buddhism, Jainism, Charvak, etc. So, as Gnostic or heterodox system, it rejects the authority of Vedas, ritualism, and metaphysical speculation rooted in religious orthodoxy. So this they reject straightway. So I mean this is just a small introduction because this also covers most of the points. But now let us see what are epistemological tenets of Charvak. Epistemology, as you know, is basically theory of knowledge of that school. Metaphysics is basically theory of reality of that school. So in epistemology, we will see the approach of that school towards knowledge or acquiring knowledge or ways and means of acquiring knowledge. So let us see that. Charvak accept only perception or pratyaksh as valid praman, means of knowledge. They reject inference, that is anuman, and verbal testimony, that is shabd, which are accepted by other schools like Nyaya, Vedant, Mimamsa, etc. They argue that Vyapti, that is universal relation, which is a basis of inference, cannot be established without circular reasoning or prior inference. For example, the inference of fire from smoke is rejected since smoke can occur without fire. So this is what their logic is. And so therefore, since Vyapti is rejected, therefore inference is also rejected. So basically, they only agree for Pratyaksha as Praman. So that is the, I mean, crux of epistemology of Charvak school. Brihaspati, often cited as a semi-legendary founder of Charvak system, is said to have propounded this empirical and skeptical worldview, though none of his original texts survive. So he is basically founder of this uh, Charvak system. Now, what are metaphysical tenets? Charvak advocates gross materialism, that is called Jadvad. They recognize only four elements, that is earth, water, fire, and air, which are actually perceived by senses. Rejecting Akas or ether, the Atma or soul or Iswara is God. They have rejected all this. Akas they rejected, Atma they rejected, and Iswara also they have rejected. Consciousness is explained as an emergent property of matter. So for them, consciousness is nothing different from matter. It's emergent property of matter, akin to the intoxicating effect of alcohol produced from a combination of ingredients. That example they have given. They reject karma, rebirth, or moksha. They reject that also. And any notion of an afterlife, they are rejecting. Consequently, they emphasize this worldly ethics. where pleasure or karma is the natural and legitimate goal of life. So this is what hedonistic philosophy of Charvak. Now let us see what are critical points in this and concluding remarks. Charvak thought was vigorously critiqued by schools like Nyaya, Vedanta, and Buddhism. Now Udayan, Shankar, and Nagarjuna are key philosophers of these schools. Shankara in particular labeled it as spiritually nihilistic. However, modern scholars like Devi Prasad Chattopadhyay and Ramakrishna Bhattacharya argue that later polemical accounts misrepresented Charvak doctrines, reducing a potentially nuanced ethical naturalism into crude hedonism. Because the way Charvak has been presented as of now is represented as crude hedonism. However, they say, that is Dev Prasad Chattopadhyay, कि originally this was representing ethical naturalism. Now, despite these doctrinal gaps, Charvak's commitment to empiricism, reason, and anti-clericalism offers a valuable counterpoint to metaphysical dogmatism. In the landscape of Indian thought, it stands as a powerful assertion of intellectual freedom, skepticism, and primacy of sensory experience, because they don't advocate any other means of knowledge except sensory experience, that is pratyaksha. So even though it represents crude hedonistic philosophy, yet, and their emphasis on empiricism, reason, and anti-ritualistic ideas is really appreciated by some modern philosophers. So now this completes the model answer for this Charvak school question. Now tomorrow we will be taking a question from philosophy of religion. So now let us see what question we will take up from philosophy of religion. How do different traditions interpret the relationship between God and word? So this question, how do different traditions interpret the relationship between God and the word? We will be answering tomorrow, first discussing and then answering tomorrow in about 300 words. So thanks a lot for watching today's video. We'll meet again tomorrow for discussion of the question from philosophy of religion. Thank you, one and all.